accordingly. Senator Di Natale.
Thank you, Mr President. I rise to speak to today's matter of public importance. Mr President, there was a national sigh of relief when Tony Abbott was replaced by Malcolm Turnbull. Most Australians gave the new Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt. We were pleased to see the end of Tony Abbott's divisive politics. We hoped that it would mark a turning point on so many critical issues like climate change, getting children out of detention, on issues like marriage equality, that we would finally be able to transition our economy and set ourselves up for those industries of the future.
Just pause, if you would. Senator Bernardi,
point of order. It is appropriate for
the point of order.
It is appropriate for the honourable senator to refer to members in the other place by either an appropriate title or with a prefix of Mr.
Thank you, Senator Bernardi. I'm sure Senator Natale will take note of that. Senator Natale, in continuation.
We hoped that Prime Minister Turnbull would help transition our economy to set ourselves up for those industries of the future, that we would end the attacks on the poor and the sick, the unemployed, on ordinary working people. And here we are, only months out from an election, and very little has changed, Mr Acting Deputy President. With each week that passes, it's becoming more and more apparent that this Prime Minister lacks the courage and the vision so desperately needed to stand up against some of the dinosaurs inside his own party, that he fails to act with courage and conviction that's so desperately needed to ensure that his beliefs and priorities prevail over the dinosaurs of his party. Let's start with the issue that will define this election, and that is the issue of catastrophic global warming. Here we are in January, in the middle of summer, where we've seen extreme weather, bushfires in Victoria, in South Australia, in Western Australia, and now bushfires in the World Heritage Area of the precious wilderness between Cradle Mountain and the walls of Jerusalem, Lake Bill, where we're seeing an ecosystem never before exposed to fires, with species being wiped out. We're seeing pencil pines and cushion plants that will be destroyed by these fires, the loss of some of the most precious biodiversity anywhere in the world. In Queensland, the Great Barrier Reef on track for a catastrophic bleaching event. On track for a catastrophic bleaching event. We are seeing the impacts of climate change right now in this country, and we must act. Globally, we're seeing the health impacts of climate change manifest themselves right around the world, with the spread of vector-borne diseases and alarm bells now with the Zika virus, something that we know will be vulnerable to changing temperatures and those vectors that will increase their spread. We already know in Northern Australia the mosquito that carries that virus has the potential to spread with catastrophic climate change. But this isn't just an issue about the impacts of climate change on the environment and on health and on our social systems. It's also an issue about transition and how we manage to transition our economy from those polluting sources of the past to those industries of the future. And the Prime Minister talks a lot about innovation. He talks a lot about being flexible and agile and nimble. But when it comes to global warming, there is absolutely no commitment to innovation or to flexibility, to agility. I was in Paris where I saw the Prime Minister and indeed the Foreign Minister defend Tony Abbott's pathetic emission reduction targets, making us the laughingstock of the world. He's still committed to taking the axe to the Clean Energy Finance Corporation and to the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, two agencies that are driving innovation in the renewable energy space. Just today we see the commitment to open up new coal mines. Again, the huge polluting coal mine in the Galilee Basin, something that Senator Larissa Waters has been a champion to try and protect that precious community, that precious environment, and to prevent the impacts of catastrophic global warming. And why is Prime Minister Turnbull backing the opening up of that coal mine, and why is he committed to abolishing those agencies that are driving investment in renewable energy? It's because he lacks the courage and vision to take us on a different path. because it requires vision to understand the opportunities that are opening up before us if we embrace the renewable energy revolution. And it involves courage, or requires courage, to stand up to those industries that are fighting for the status quo, that are holding us back, that incidentally are huge donors to both the Coalition and the Labor Party, those industries of the past that are holding back the industries of the future. And on the issue of people seeking asylum in this country, innocent people fleeing persecution, seeking our protection and seeking refuge in Australia. Just today we learn of the High Court's decision, but this is not a legal question, this is a moral question, and it can never be acceptable, regardless of the problem, to have a solution that locks up young children who are innocent, causing them tremendous grief and suffering, forcing them to self-harm and damaging those people's lives permanently. And here we are, with Malcolm Turnbull facing a decision about whether he will deport children who are born here in Australia to those nations, or to that system of offshore detention camps, to continue to inflict that suffering on vulnerable people. And so far, the signs on that issue are not good. On marriage equality, a question of ending prejudice and discrimination. We now see the farce that is the plebiscite that this government is committed to, where even members of that government say they won't stand by a decision of the Australian people. Let's not have a plebiscite, let's have a vote, let's do it now, and let's end prejudice and discrimination in marriage once and for all. On the question of the Republic, a person who says that this is his life's work, who has campaigned on an issue that defined his entry into politics, and he's now vacating the space, saying that it's up to the Australian people to lead the charge. Well, we have three leaders of our main political parties in this country who are committed to a republic. It's not the fault of the Australian people that we don't have a timetable towards a republic. It's a failure of leadership. And this nonsense that we need to wait until the reign of the Queen is over, well, that's the point. The point of a republic is we make our decisions independently of the monarchy. So we have now a debate around tax reform in this nation, a debate that is about what it means to live in a civilised society, investing in healthcare, investing in education, investing in the social safety net, ensuring that we look after people who are vulnerable. And we have the opportunity to do that by ending unfair tax breaks, by ensuring that tax reform starts at the top and not at the bottom. And yet here is a government committed to raising the GST because it wants to protect its mates at the big end of town and would rather go after those people on low and middle incomes, further increasing this huge gap and growing gap between the haves and the have-nots in Australian society, between the super rich and those people who are struggling. The issue of tax reform isn't some dry economic debate about whether we can balance the budget. It is about the society we want and whether we're prepared to live with the growing inequality that has become a major problem within Australian society. It's a debate around getting our investment setting right so that we don't continue to give preferential tax treatment to the property sector and to the mining sector, and that we drive the innovation that's so desperately necessary in advanced manufacturing, in the renewable economy, in the health sector, in the education sector, being a service-based economy, which is where our future lies. So it is an election about courage and vision, and the Greens have laid out an optimistic, forward-looking roadmap for how to transition Australia from an old economy to a modern, prosperous, confident 21st century Australia. Just last year we launched our plan, a detailed blueprint to renew Australia, to have 90% renewable energy by 2030, generating jobs and investment in this country, to end the system of offshore detention and to have a much more humane way to look after innocent people who are seeking our protection, to deliver marriage equality and to deliver it now, and to ensure that when it comes to raising revenue, that tax reform starts at the top rather than the bottom. We want a commission, a corruption watchdog, rather than targeting one sector of society. We have been courageous. We have been visionary. We have provided the leadership in this country so desperately lacking from this government, and we'll do that right up until the next election.
Thank you, Senator Natali. Your time's expired. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President.